Hi, friends. My name's host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Finnish People. And today was one of those delightful days where I woke up laughing. More frequently, I wake up mad than I wake up laughing. But sometimes I wake up laughing, like I did today. And why was I waking up laughing? Well, because what I had in my head that I was laughing about. I don't even know how you dream this, but it was a product called three-way ketchup. its whole claim to fame is that now you can use ketchup three ways. I don't know why that made me laugh so much. Well, don't get the regular one-way ketchup. You got to get three-way ketchup. Well, you can use it all three ways. What are those ways? Don't ask about that. No, I dream about three-way ketchup. I also had this dream last night. I slept really well. I just woke up and I got like a solid 8 hours of sleep. And I had this other dream right before I woke up that was I was playing high school baseball and I was talking to this other guy on the team. So whether or not I was going to get drafted, this is obviously too much anime. That's the only explanation I have for that. Three-way ketchup is just the same as regular ketchup. It's just about marketing, okay? Right. And it says right on the label, now use ketchup in three ways! Exclamation point. You should call it three-way ketchup. That's what you should call it. I remember I was talking to the other teammate on the baseball team about, like, I can't believe it that there's a chance I'm going to get drafted. I don't even like baseball. Like, everybody else on the team is so much more into it than I am. And then the guy I was talking to was like, you can master it. Look at the third baseman. Look at the first baseman. You too can master it. That's not using ketchup three ways. That's having three different things included in a ketchup bottle, Mrs. Mom. This idea is it's regular ketchup. It just says that you can use it three ways. The fact is you can use it at least three ways. So it's not a false claim. You can use ketchup more than three ways, I'm sure. Hambone identified three ways right off the bat. Dipping, saucing, and marinating. So, the idea being, if you're at the store and you have a choice between regular ketchup and three-way ketchup, well, you're gonna take the three-way ketchup, of course. It probably is gluten-free. I'm a big believer in gluten-free ketchup. It's also a vegetable. I remember back in the Reagan years, I think it was, there was a big dust-up over Reagan trying to say that ketchup counts as a vegetable for children's school lunches. Finger painting bathtub sex and marking your home for hobos. I don't want ketchup involved in any sexual act, I don't think. Hey, gay. Yeah, I woke up in a good mood this morning. I've been a little, well, yesterday I got a lot of work done. Well, that's not how you spell upholstery. That's not even close to how you spell upholstery, Gen X Seal. You need to go to upholstery spelling class. obviously. That looks like upholstery. You also clean upholstery with it. You cannot clean upholstery with ketchup, okay, unless it's red to begin with. I agree with Legends Fall there. You know, you start with something like whipped cream. Ketchup is like number 47 or something, you know. It's like, it looks too much like blood, for one thing. So you don't want your sex to look like a big bloody mess, right? But I do enjoy the idea of marking your home hobos with ketchup. That seems like something that everyone should do. You know, the lost art of hobo marking is something we need to bring back. As a culture, America is the originator of hobo marking. It's our national treasure. We shouldn't lose that traditional knowledge. There are two things that America invented. It's hobo marking and ketchup sex in the bathtub. That's a Winston's mom specialty, but you know, she's American, so it counts as an American invention. Yeah, I really don't like to get any food involved in my sex. I mean, sometimes I dip Rachel in a giant tub of mayonnaise, but that's normal. That's normal. I mean, the thing is, my experience as an ENTP is that I generally find sex gross after I'm done with it. like, like if I'm fapping or something, as soon as I'm done fapping, I like go gag because what I'm watching it suddenly seems gross. It no longer seems appealing at all. You know, once I'm done. Even actual sex with an actual person can easily enough seem gross if I'm done. If I make it gross, you know. So, hi, Laura McGinley. I'm squeamish. I've got a weak stomach. I easily feel pukey. Hi, girl. Proper response to sup is, of course, hey, girl. Now, if you had said hey, girl to me, I would have had the same response, sup. That's how ESTPs do business. My daughter apparently posted a funny video yesterday, sup, that where some lady was trying to like mad dog her or whatever, and she got her camera and started screaming at the lady, fuck yeah. He's letting her 8 out, you know. That's my girl. That's my daughter. That's my ESTP daughter. Don't take no shit from no one, including me. If you've seen her on these live streams, you can see that she takes no shit from me either. That she completely like controls the narrative. No, I would not want to mount a mirror over my bed. Yeah, I used to be much more. Well, I still kind of take no shit from anybody, but I used to be more like that. I used to have a motto: DFWE, don't fuck with Eric. Not like these aren't like ESFP threats either. Don't fuck with me. It's like I'll do my best to ignore it if you're fucking with me. But if I can no longer ignore it, here comes the hammer. She is not in the shit taking business. I gotta say, utter self. The brief conversation I had with you the other day, in which you were trying to be demonstrative with me, was actually very helpful. I've been really remembering and fixating on the fact that, Eric, you're doing it again. You're polishing a turd. So, yeah, I try to ignore it. I try not to. It's like I try to ignore it if I'm being mindful. If I'm not being mindful, then I'm just reactive immediately, and it depends on my mood, you know. If I'm in a good mood and a like super peaceful mood or whatever, then putting up with some shit seems like a noble endeavor. But you know, that's sort of like when I'm really pretending to be an adult. That's what I think. But you know, that's more the exception than the rule. This morning I opened a new bag of coffee. This coffee comes from the Kenya Highlands. Now, note, the Scots still maintain the Highlands are theirs, okay? When the Kenyans invaded Scotland and took over the Highlands, it was an extra legal act, an annexation, you might say. And the Scots still maintain that the Highlands belong to the Scots, and the Kenyans need to get the hell out. I did wake up laughing. I woke up laughing, Bacon, about the concept of three-way ketchup. It's just regular ketchup, except you can use it three ways. This is not totally uncommon that I wake up laughing. Usually when I wake up laughing, I no longer get the joke after I think about it a little bit. I'm like, wow, why am I laughing about that? That only seemed funny when I was asleep. But this one, it seemed funny after I woke up, so I was still laughing about it. I guess it was a dream in which somebody asked me something like, but how is it different from regular ketchup? And I said, well, you can use it three ways. It's like that episode of The Simpsons where they're at the Duff Brewing Company and they have one tube of beer and it splits into two tubes. One of the tubes says Duff Light and one of the tubes says Duff Regular. It's just the same shit marketed differently. Leaf trimmer. I believe the last greeting was "Hey girl," so that's fine for sup. But I think somebody also offered a sup, in which case you need to reply with a "Hey girl." So you kind of screwed that up. Sup's halfway there, but unless you include the "Hey girl," you're never going to get all the way to your destination. Leaf trimmer it requires both to be a true Chad. A true Chad has in his arsenal both sup and hey girl. That'd be funny if you started like you met somebody online and they started off with sup or hey girl and you said sup and then you go out with them and it turns out that's really all they say at dinner. Sit down. Oh, so you've been here? Sup? Hey, girl. Hey, how you doing? I'm fine. I'm doing fine. How are you? Hey, girl. That's not answering my question. That's just saying, hey, girl. True Chad is his own arsenal. Well, you know what else a true Chad does have in his repertoire of moves, though? Girl, you know you my world. What girl wouldn't be swooned into bed with that move? Here's a good pickup line. If I told you you had a beautiful body, would you expect me to end this question differently? What? The key is confuse them. Confuse them right out the gate. My sparker broke on this. Well, the reason I was wearing a nose scarf at the time, Alex Rodriguez, is clearly because I didn't have any three-way catch-up. Now that I have three-way catch-up, my nose should be fine. The thing is, as I mentioned before, Alex Rodriguez and everybody here, I'm going to have to get another one, yeah. Look, the thing about this is now the cheap kind of torch. The cheap kind of torch doesn't have this button on it. It sparks it. You just turn a knob and it turns on and then you spark it yourself like that. But I need it to be this kind of torch. I need a good kind. This Burns-O-Matic is so well used that you can just barely see where it used to say Burns-O-Matic right here. And you can barely see the lock and unlock things here. What are the three ways? I'm going to go with ham bones three ways. Saucing, dipping, and marinating. Drew Chad just says, let's go. Picks her up and carries her to the nearest bed. Yeah. I mean, a true Chad has led her by the hand to the bathroom in the bar while you're sitting there at the table wondering if you should go pick up on that girl. I'm the guy who's sitting at the table wondering, not the true Chad. And then you go, oh, she's ruined now. Oh, well. She's ruined. If ESTPs ruined women, there'd be no women left unruined. In some sense, ESTPs prepare women for you by demonstrating to them that they don't want that. You know, it's like ESTPs in general are a little less eager to get into a committed long-term relationship than I am. Not my daughter, really, although she too is staying out of relationships right now. I cock blocked a guy who was conversing with his dandy months ago. I mean, I don't know how I would be able to do that. Taste, eat it, wear his perfume, or wear his makeup. Magician's blood supplement. Musical instrument. Yes, ketchup could be a musical instrument. That's true. So going back to the issue of turd polishing that Utter and Self and I were discussing the other day. Because of that conversation, in large part, I ended up finishing Fire Force Song because I needed to redo the bass and stuff. It's like it wasn't. It had a lot of problems, and then we worked on I'm So Sad. Rachel and I did, and I got her vocals and stuff. I'm gonna play that now.
Just brooding here won't do any good, but brooding's more and more my style. I seek the true ways of standing where we stood, 'cause I've been stuck here a while. That's despite a natural selfishness that makes it easy to have fun. What flutters in the gut, become a fist, and all my visions come undone. I tried to stream, distract, and dream the afternoon away, but heavy new realities bear down on every day, and for a bit I am out of it. Reason still unsaid, but still I need it to separate my head. Seems like everybody's so sensitive, so ready to just get mad. I seek the civil ways of living like a kid, 'cause who wants to be the dad? Have we lost our sense of scope and scale, our capacity to laugh, the sense to know when not to wail, and how to tip the golden cat? I tried to sleep, distract, and dream the afternoon away, but heavy new realities bear down on every day, and for a bit I am out of it. Reason still unsaid, but still I need it to get free my head. Still I'm sad, so sad for me, sad for him, unhappily. What you call sorrow, I call home. Blues that sink clear down to the bone. Still I'm sad, so sad for me, sad for him, unhappily. What you call sorrow, I call home. Blues that sink clear down to the bone. Still I'm sad, so sad for me, sad for him, unhappily. What you call sorrow, I call home. Blues that sink clear down to the bone. Still I'm sad, so sad for me, sad for him, unhappily.
Yeah, sure, I'll link that. Jeffrey G. I can link that with my linking finger. I went ahead and invested in a linking finger, which I can use to share links with people. It was totally worth it. There you go. What's the DRPs? DRPs are deductive reasoning problems. They were one component of my critical thinking class. I don't have any more of them. I have to get more made. Unfortunately, custard cream. Thank you for asking, though. This is screen printed, so I've had this shirt for a long time, and it's a good quality shirt. And I went down and got good quality shirts and got them screen printed, and it's lasted a long time. I'm really happy to have this shirt. It makes me very happy, and I will try to get more made. They come in runs, so there were a set of yellow shirts with green things. There were a set of green shirts with yellow things. There were a set of baseball shirts that I made for the bandmates when I had TWFU band. Those are white with red sleeves on them. With a TWFP on it. There are three kinds of shirts, and actually, there are a couple of one-offs, unique ones. There's one white shirt with words on it that I gave somebody who helped me with something. Anyway, the critical thinking curriculum. It comprised, first we did analogies, then we did syllogisms, then we did fallacies, then we did deductive reasoning problems, then we did conditional logic. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. I don't like that company because I've done it right before, so I don't want to do it wrong. I've done it right twice, where I hired the guy, went downtown, bought the shirts, and had him screen print them for me. And I had a lot of shirts, and it was not that expensive compared to the total amount of money being spent on T-shirts. When you go through that company, it's like they're buying 2 T-shirts. They're paying you for one of them, and they're paying them for one of them. What type is the troll under the bridge? It's a water troll. It's a river troll. So one thing I started doing with my ISTP 5th grader, or now she's a 6th grader. Sorry, Chloe, I keep calling you a 5th grader. Anyway, I started doing representations, conditional representations, like how to represent things for conditional reasoning. I'll show you. I'll get a couple more work. I'm going to share a couple more logic sheets here. I've got a shit ton of them. Let's see here. Well, All right, this one unfortunately has the answer written on. Well, I'll take the answers off. Or I know what I'll do. I'll make a copy of this with the answers on it. Answers. And then I'll take the answers off of this. So I wish I was live streaming the other way right now, so I could share this screen with everybody and we could go over it a little bit. So this is like to truly understand language from a TI perspective is to be able to do this. I'll leave number 5 as an example. And I'll leave 6 as an example of I see. This is just a nice. Something else. Damn it. So the thing is, as I've said before, I did teach conditional logic, but I didn't just teach conditional logic. I also made all my own materials for it. And this is one of those materials. This material here specifically asks the person to do these representative logical things. So this is sheet 8F rather than starting with the most basic sheet. So if you look at this sheet here that I just linked, called 8F and or combo 3 variables. So it says here either Bob or, oh, that's not the one I just shared, right? Or did I? I just shared this one, correct, yes. Either Bob or Ulysses steal hats or Jules will win the presidency. So when you go to represent that, well, let's go down to number 5 and see an example. The sentence, although it is not the case that mammals produce milk, both produce milk and have cold blood, it is the case that either mammals have live births or that mammals have cold blood. So the representation of it is not the case that P and Q and R or Q. And then each of those things, P is a statement mammals produce milk, Q is a statement mammals have cold blood, R is a statement mammals have live births, and everything else in that sentence is conditional logic words, or in other words, what you call statement connectives. And, or, if then, it is the case, it is not the case, things like that are what you call statement connectives. So with logic, you get rid of everything that's not a statement or a statement connected. So you get rid of questions, you get rid of commands. Those don't mean anything. You get rid of expletives. Those don't mean anything. So, okay. Now for number 6, either that sign is blurry or I need glasses. And neither do I need glasses, nor is there another explanation for this phenomenon. So then it shows you, well, P, Q, and R are, the sign is blurry, I need glasses, and there's another explanation for this phenomenon. So, the first challenge that people face in doing conditional logic is being able to read a sentence and then parse out the stuff that's actually needs to be represented and the stuff that versus the stuff that is not actually meaning anything. Like how far does something comprise a statement? Well, that last statement, there is not another phenomenon. There's not another explanation for this phenomenon. Even though it's a fairly long sentence, it comprises one statement, which is to say, it is not the case that something else. So, it is the case that Jordan Peterson speaks out of both sides of his mouth regarding Jungian functions. He seems to have taken a very TE approach to the question of Jungian functions, which is he will not have to address legitimacy on TI grounds if he simply dismisses MBTI and doesn't talk about Jungian functions when dismissing MBTI, and ignores the fact that there's a contemporary modern explanation of cognitive functions that's actually actually meets the standards of a theory or model. It's not just bullshit, right? He just ignores that. But of course, he may very well not know that. I wouldn't blame him for thinking the typology community is full of people who don't know what they're talking about. I also, though, wouldn't blame him for thinking the fill-in-the-blank community is filled with people who don't know what they're talking about. I mean, it's like this is a universal reality. In other words, ESFPs are everywhere. They're talking about all kinds of things. And they're never right. So, if you have them on your team, people are going to go, that team's terrible. Well, they're on every team, unfortunately. Eric, would you agree that ESTP basic frame is much more canine than should I? Seems true of myself. I mean, I think that's the basic frame of all action types. But, the extent to which any of the action types, or the extent to which the action types begin to focus more on the normative questions, should I, really have a lot to do with their specifics, how they play out. The thing is, it's not so much that Jung's work should be dismissed as it is that, it's, if we aren't standing on Jung's shoulders at this point, we're doing a terribly shitty job of hurrying it up, right? Because he came up with this basic idea of cognitive functions a long ass time ago. And it took until talking with famous people to actually basically get it right, more or less, That's slow standing on the shoulders of giants, in my opinion. Very slow. So it's not surprising then that Jung would be rendered at this point in history into a giant whose shoulders we stand upon, rather than whose work we take as a serious basis in and of itself for our understanding. Just like Darwin no longer comprises people's conception of evolution, right? So if I were to present to you a negation of Darwinian evolution, anybody who had any idea of what they were talking about would negate me by saying that's not what people mean when they say evolution anymore. All Jung did was look at myths and derive their principles in modern language. I don't know. I haven't read him. I have his book around somewhere. Looks fat. He found personality types and reinforcing the existence of the change. The most notable thing that he did, in my opinion, is to note that to be the first one to notice and attempt to taxonomy what would come to be called attentional manners. Well, you know, I don't disagree also that at its moment in history, that Jung's work was important, you know? Well, yeah, Jung was an INFJ who mistook his dominant introverted intuition function, his dominant universal knowing function, as adequate, as an adequate means to know the truth. But it's just part of the puzzle. You need TI too. And he just didn't TI it enough. Too much metaphor, not enough rigorous attention. You look at that worksheet, right? Somebody, if you're gonna rigorously represent cognitive functions, maybe get the guy who made that worksheet to do it. Because that guy's logical. That guy understands. Oh, that's me. Well, BB's wrong about that. Jung was not an INTJ. Jung was an INFJ. I already typed policeman. Jung was wrong about himself, too. Jung was an INFJ's INFJ. If there's ever INFJ and INFJ in INFJ town. It's a lot of INFJery going on there. And you know, the thing about being universalist, INFJ or ENTP, ENFJ, is that the metacognition is much more powerful than it is for people who are non-metaphysical. How can you know someone more than their own selves? I'm not saying I know who Jung is more than Jung knows who Jung is. I'm saying I know which configural name goes with him better than he does. So in other words, why go to the doctor, Diamond? How can somebody else know what's wrong with me more than I do? It's my body, after all. Well, the answer is because they're a specialist in that thing. Now, you might say Jung was the ultimate specialist in the thing that I'm claiming to be a specialist in. And I'm telling you, no, you're wrong. He was a pioneer, an originator, a giant whose shoulders we now stand upon. In the same way that Darwin was wrong in his mechanics for evolution, even if you agree with evolution, so too was Jung wrong about his understanding of the thing he pioneered. And as a consequence, I am better qualified to tell him what type he is than he is. I mean, physical medicine is more objective and tangible. It's like psychology. Unfortunately, I'm not making a diagnosis. You might say I'm making a prognosis. Thanks, Kenton Davey. You must be a TINE user or SE. SE users are less likely to give me praise, though. I've noticed. NE users are like, you really did kind of kill that shit. It's like one thing I forget to do when people want. Okay, see, Nicholas Watson, you keep saying this shit, You keep saying this, that as a critique. Eric thinks he's always right, or Eric's always right, or something like that. That is not the case. We go over it every time. I give you the same answer. That's simply not true. I am not always right. But the thing is, it's not just me who built this cognitive function model. It's everybody who corrected me when I was wrong. Nicholas Watson, if you ignore the process and just focus on this moment right now, then Nicholas Watson, you're correct. Right now, when talking to you and other people around here about this, if they disagree with me, they're wrong. If they agree with me, they're right. Because what we're talking about right now is whether or not I'm always right. The fact is, I'm not always right. To determine whether or not I am always right or think I'm always right, you'd have to review a set of data and conclude that there are no instances of me acknowledging that I'm wrong, being wrong, or seeking to have my wrongness pointed out to me. Yet there are countless such examples. Countless such examples. Laura, it's because you're interested in three-way catch-up. Now, you too can use catch-up in three ways. TE-DOMs are much more always right. Here's the other title I'm going to put here. I couldn't fucking believe this yesterday. Do you know what my dad thought until yesterday? He thought I was a stenographer. I shit you not. When he said I was typing people, he just thought I meant to say typing for people. He brought in these notes to me yesterday and said, "How much do you charge for typing?" I said, $100 an hour. And he handed me these notes, and I said, "You do know that I'm not typing, right?" That's what my dad thought until yesterday. When I said I was typing people, that I was taking their handwritten notes and typing them into something. That's NI-polar. That is NI-polar. Because I've talked with him about personality types plenty of times, or mentioned it plenty of times. To not put two and two together, that when I use the word personality type, then when I go to typing, that means that keep in mind, my dad has a PhD in philosophy. He's an ESTJ, and he's a smart guy. Like yesterday when he drove me back from the mechanics, my car's in the mechanics, to here, he talked about basically politics with me the whole time. He talked about a scenario in which Trump resigns 10 days before his presidency ends, makes Pence vice president, and Vice President Pence, and now President Pence pardons Trump for everything done prior to this moment, named and unnamed, and my dad's really offended by this possibility and by Trump's disregard for rule of law and the protocols and just normalcies of the presidency and the office of the role of government and stuff, You have no idea how CS just can think of themselves as the ENTP. he probably doesn't really think that anymore, I would guess. I think he just practices pretending to be one as he understands it, kind of knowingly. I think he's got to know at this point that he needs to be. But I mean, my dad just learned yesterday I wasn't a stenographer, so maybe not. But I mean, the thing is, if you throw the truth in their face enough, and it's like, if you hit them in the face enough with their polar, they will start to recognize that there's a problem there. So the thing is, Nicholas Watson, I'm making claims. Okay? You don't have to dispute my claims, and you don't have to agree with my claims. But you can't refute them by simply pointing out that I'm making claims. I'm not assuming you agree with them. I am making other claims based on the assumptions that are made in my understanding of cognitive functions. If you want to dispute my claims, go ahead and dispute them. But there's no reason whatsoever for you to conclude that I assume you agree with me. None. I've never given any indication that I think you agree with me. I think you're quite back and forth about me. It's like you like what I have to say a lot, but you dislike how I have to say it, and you dislike that I'm what you would perceive as self-aggrandizing. So I don't think you agree with me. I think your attention is mostly on ways in which you dislike me, at the moment anyway. How can people with NI polar, NI throw a little more NI? I mean, I think my dad has got the best NI an ESTJ is ever going to have, more or less, which is to say, he does have a PhD in philosophy. He is interested in intellectual stuff, and it does keep very informed about stuff. Oh yeah, my dad's incredibly knowledgeable about all kinds of shit. Do I think there's any truth in what my dad said? Absolutely, I do. I think that's the smartest thing that Trump could possibly do. Will Trump actually do it? I don't know, but I suspect that is the single smartest thing that Trump could do, because otherwise he will face legal ramifications after this sham of a presidency. I mean, the courts and the court of public opinion are two very different places. So you should really learn the basics of this typing stuff before listening to these. I don't know what's going on. Well, fortunately, Custard Cream, we're all over the place around here. So we're not just talking typology. At the moment, I'm talking politics. That does seem to me the smartest thing that Trump could do for his own self-interest. That phone call with the governor of Georgia, where he's pressuring him to come up with, manufacture or otherwise produce extra votes for Trump and stuff, that's, as my dad was saying, that's clearly I wish I weren't Nicholas Watson. Why don't you take on the job? Go and tell people to come watch my show. I have to, because people challenge shit all the time, you know? It's like I'm trying to establish a predominant narrative here that we do have a best way of thinking about cognitive functions and talking about cognitive functions. That we should try to normalize that best way because it's exclusively a good way, which is to say, like most models, theories, explanations, there's one correct one and all the other ones are wrong. That's just how shit goes in the universe. My claim is, here we have the correct one now. Let's normalize it. Let's make it the norm. And Nicholas Watson, you're saying, well, we don't necessarily agree that it's correct. Okay, well then you don't agree that it's correct. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying you have to agree. Yeah, she actually she finished at the top of her college logic class and had a reputation like within the class as being kind of like the star of the class. You know, she brought her college class logic homework. That's where I got the hats question from. She was excited to to show it to me to like, if there was a problem, like neither of us could solve the hats problem at first. We both thought about it for a long time. She called me and said, like, hey, what's going on here? I can't figure this out. The hats problem is very challenging. Well, custard cream, think about the hats problem. If you can solve it, then you might very well be an INTP. The hats problem is this. There are 5 hats in a bag, 3 red, 2 white. 3 prisoners and a warden. The prisoners are blindfolded. Yeah, well, I'll get to that in a second, Jeffrey G. The warden says to the prisoners, you're going to each take out a hat blindfolded from this bag and put it on top of your head. It's a little party hat. You'll be able to see other people's hats, but you won't be able to see your own hat. If you can tell me what color hat you're wearing, then I will let you go free. If you tell me the wrong answer, I will kill you. If you do nothing, you can go back to your cell as normal. Now, the first guy takes out a hat. All 3 people put on a hat, the prisoners. The first guy says, okay, take off your blindfold. The first guy takes off his blindfold and he looks and he says, I can't tell you what color hat my hat is. So the warden says, okay. Second guy's blindfold gets taken off. He looks at the other 2 guys and says, I can't tell you what color hat my hat is. And the warden says, okay. The third guy says, you don't have to take off my blindfold. I know what color my hat is. And he tells the warden, and the warden sets him free. So what color was the third guy's hat, and how did he know? That's the hats question. If you can do that without really needing to have it repeated, or maybe you just need to repeat it once, then in that case, you are probably. Why do you think the first 2 had white hats? That is not something you can conclude from that, no. Third had red. But you can't conclude that the first 2 had white. They could all 3 have had red. How can you conclude that the third one had red? Hey, thanks, Pommel Hot. Yeah, thank you. I need money right now. I'm gonna have this huge car bill. No, Sean, the third hat is red. I think in your case, SI, it's so diametrically opposed to your first thought that best you can do is mimic it through another function. You can untangle the unconscious attitude of that function, but that's your SI in terms of composition. Are you talking to me? I don't think that's correct, Kenton Davey. Look, your first and fourth exist in a relationship that is defined by the first function. So for me, SI is very much a very present an active servant of extroverted intuition. I've got to give answers that I've given before many, many times because otherwise I'd be TI inconsistent. Hi, Susie. Nice to see you. So the thing is, my SI tends to keep track of only the most low resolution data because it's subsumed by the interests of my extroverted intuition, which is a metaphysical action function. So SI keeps track of metaphysical bullets to use on the metaphysical field, which is to say ideas and words, not so much experiences and smells and tastes and sensations and stuff like that. Which means I'm kind of starving for that stuff all the time. because I think, and this is unrelated to cognitive functions per se, but I just think that people need to spend time in multiple modalities. I think it's important for people to not spend all their time in the library, not spend all their time on the sports field, not spend all their time anywhere. And the thing is, I fail to uphold this purported good. I'm I'm a kind of spend all my time in front of the computer guy, but I don't care about money, but apparently I needed to survive. Some random dude I worked with once upon a time, that I could hear myself saying exactly the same thing. So I think what I've realized, I want to go back to the question of turd polishing, which I discussed with Utter Self the other day. I'm not happy with the way the choruses currently sound in the song. I'm so sad for me. I'm not happy with the way the choruses currently sound, and there's a couple of elements I'm not particularly happy with. So I think I agree with Legends Fall, and it's a good way to put it. Fourth is capable on the same physical metaphysical field as the dominant, and anemic on the opposite. I agree with that. So another way of putting that is that you've got the component for knowledge functions, especially, it seems, maybe not necessarily for other functions, but for knowledge functions, it does seem to have a real-time component and a turn-based component for both knowledge functions. The real-time component of introverted intuition is like timing the football throw so that it lands, right where the receiver is when he gets there. That's kind of knowing timing stuff like that in real time. That's NI real time. NI turn-based is much easier to understand because that's where most of the occurrence of NI is, where it most natively works. In other words, it's a natural partner of extroverted intuition. So I'm throwing out word objects to be validated as true by other people, and they get validated as true by a lot of different means. But my perspective is the sort of ultimate truth is the NI truth of substantiated synergy, to the extent that you can come up with that, which is to say, you acknowledge that systems attain an identity or a completeness that is greater than the sum of the parts, and that quality is implicit to NI. Eric, I'd like to know a little bit about ENTP and guilt, if possible. I got guilted to death the other day by my new roommates. It was a strange and new experience. They said I'm acting like a dictator. Are you sure you got guilted?
Hi,
Hi, precious angel.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. How are you?
Good. I'm hoping to get a morning
Kitty
puff.
Bug said. There's a lot of weed left in your bag there.
Okay,
There was
cool.
more weed left in your bag there this morning than I expected there to be by a large margin.
Well, I hope that you took some of it.
I did.
Good.
I think the best so Kitten Davis says the best quarterbacks must be NTJs. I think ENTJs and ENFJs are the best suited to play football in general. And the reason is because they can ignore the fact that it's an absolutely brutal and painful sport to play. I certainly would not want to play football. The thing is, it used to be even way more so. My neighbor and former brother-in-law, Johnny, says when he used to play football in high school, the things he talks about just sounds awful. Like, they have them do drills where they just hammer into each other at full velocity, stuff like that. So I think that the other kind of type that is most well suited to be in football is ESFPs. ESFPs are also extremely good at putting aside discomfort of the moment. ESTPs should be equally good at that with SE-DOM, but they're just more metaphysical, and so they're not quite as good at that.
I find that ESTPs who are athletic, they take very good care of their bodies. Like, because they know they're beating it up, they'll be strict on their body, really. Take a lot of ice baths, go to the gym frequently, like, to keep up with the sport. But I do believe you're right in that ESFPs handle it even better than that. They don't even need to. They don't. They work out.
What I'm saying is, what I'm really thinking about is Naked and Afraid. Who's going to perform better on Naked and Afraid, ESTP or ESFP? And my answer is ESFP.
Yeah.
Because ESTP will rely on their SI ignoring and not give enough attention to their absolute valued FI. ESFP has instrumental value FI and ignoring absolute value SI. So ESFP can deal with having bad feelings much more successfly than ESTP. After a weekend at Naked and Afraid, I think ESTP is going to get very pissy and want to leave.
Yeah, I had my roommate leave. She, while we were roommates, she was a professional dancer for the 76ers. And, I mean, talk about, like, beating up the body. I really, in some way, was envious of the fact that she was able to go to the gym, go to practice, go to the actual games, and still wake up for class. Like, I was, like, in awe because, like, I could see how much she was physically, like, doing these things, and hardcore too. Like, she was always, this is gross, but I don't mean to say it, it just came out. She always smelled like sweat because she was always beating.
That's not that gross. They said I don't care about what they want to do, like partying at night. Well, I gotta get up at 5 a.m. Well, is that true? Are you loud at night when they have to get up early? If they have to get up early and you're being loud at night, that's kind of a fair complaint. I wouldn't call that acting like a dictator. Or are you saying you have to get up early and you're mad at them for being loud? Would you ever get prank called, Eric? Yeah, I get prank called periodically. But usually when I'm live streaming. Not really when I'm not live streaming. The problem with trying to prank call me is it's like I'm just too willing to talk to the person, right? Like, oh, who are you? Oh, so what? Why are you doing this thing here right now? What's going on? Talk to me about this. I'm curious. That's interesting. And then they're like, but he's insisting we both be people. God damn it. I'm trying to treat him as a non-person. And now here he is treating me as a person. And what the hell am I going to do with that? Explain to them, 3DR Nomad, you are no dictator, you're a dick rater. Just because you rate penises doesn't mean you're authoritarian. They've got the two words confused. There's a great Weird Al parody of Waterfalls by TLC about prank calls. Oh, I didn't know that. You worked in your shift in the Air Force? Winston's mom. That is not appropriate uniform. When she was in the military, Winston's mom would go to work in her shift. In a translucent shift. You don't hear that term very often anymore to refer to a sheer nightgown of a lady as a shift.
Like a shift? No.
You don't really hear that expression anymore.
No. I've heard of my mom has the term shift dress.
Let me see. Let me Google going out in her shift. Wearing a shift. Let me try it. Let me just put that. Wearing a shift. This is a shift, I guess. It's like a dress that doesn't go all the way down or something. See, it's not really what I imagined a shift to be, though. I imagined a shift to be, oh, I guess like this, yeah. But not all colorful like this. Rachel, do you see the shift?
Yes.
This is a shift.
Yeah, that's a shift dress.
Or like this is a shift. This is what I imagine. Going about in your shift is like a lady who looks like she's just in a nightgown that only goes halfway down the legs.
See, I didn't know that was considered a shift.
Okay, what's that thing that a slip? That what it's called?
Slip is what we wear to bed.
A slip. That's what I meant to say.
Yes.
Not a shift, a slip. Images. Wearing a slip. She can't go out in just her slip. Is that something women might say? I think so.
Yeah.
3 beautiful reasons why you should wear a slip. Me? Let's find out what the beautiful reasons are. Do you wear a slip? You don't ever wear a slip. Rachel's not listening to me at all. She's not paying any attention to me at all.
No, I don't have a slip. No.
I'm wondering now, is there something wrong with you? Should you be wearing a slip?
Maybe.
Did you know that wearing a slip helps clothes hang better? Did you know that wearing a slip helps your clothes last longer? And lastly, did you know that wearing a slip prevents wardrobe malfunction?
No, I would think that it would.
Finally, the bonus reason, the glamour factor. Admit it, there's just something glamorous about women in slips. Where to find a slip? So they're not very common anymore, I guess.
Actually, slip dresses are very fashionable to wear in like public now.
Okay, but the slip is not a dress. It's the thing you wear underneath the dress.
Yes, but the style of slip dress that you're waking up in.
Okay, but you wouldn't wear this outside.
People do.
But this is clearly underwear looking.
Yes, but like, okay, go take it from white and you like make it into black or like purple.
Okay, but look, it's got you clearly showing bra straps.
I know, but
If it's sort of translucent, it's supposed to be a nightgown, right?
it's supposed to be. But let me tell you, people do wear it for fashion. They'll wear it with like a motorcycle jacket over it, or sometimes with nothing. Like, hello, Rihanna. Rihanna does it all the time.
She wears just a slip
Dress.
outside.
Yeah.
Did she put rouge on at the beauty salon before wearing her slip underneath her gown?
She does.
It's very old-fashioned of her. I guess slips are old-fashioned. Who knew? Because where did I read that? I read it on this thing. It's called Modern Retro Woman.
Wow.
What to wear. Let's see what else you should wear. How to eliminate that saddlebag look. Saddlebags? I guess there could be worse descriptions for what we call pear-shaped nowadays. Whether we call the triangular hip line saddlebags or pear-shaped, the overall impression is one of being bottom-heavy. And not in the way the pop stars sing about. We can eliminate that saddlebag look by providing visual balance. This is accomplished by helping the viewer's eyes move up and away from the hip line. Very important tips here. How to become an hourglass figure. Wait, no, it didn't say that. It didn't say hourglass figure anywhere. That's just my eyes. No, here it does say it. You might say we're trying to create a faux hourglass look. How to I'm going to share this link to everybody because this is pretty important stuff. How to eliminate that saddlebag look. Are you having that problem? Who's having a saddlebag problem right now? Me, I am. I've got that saddlebag look. Let's see how to fix it. I got that saddlebag look. Women with triangular hips tend to have a low slung look to them. They can give the appearance of having a squatty body. In quotes. Here are some strategies to eliminate that saddlebag look. Make legs look longer by moving the visual waist higher. For example, wearing a shrug instead of a cardigan. Wearing a shrug. Now, I was pretty sure that a shrug was a gesture of some sort, like this. It turns out it's an article of clothing.
Yeah.
Wear a shrug instead of a cardigan. Are those your only two choices? Are you currently wearing a cardigan? Are they telling you to change your cardigan? Wearing a shrug instead of a cardigan gives the impression that your waist is higher on the torso than it actually is. Watch out for lines that pull focus to the hips. Tops and blazers should end at the top of the hips. Avoid illustrations 2, 5, and 10. Let's look at illustrations 2, 5, and 10. You don't want to look like 2. You don't want to look like 5. And you definitely don't want to look like 10. Is everybody following along here?
This is important lesson.
This is good stuff, okay? Put the link again in case you missed it the first time. Okay, so Jeffrey, I'm sorry you're not really getting your cognitive function questions answered here, but more importantly, Jeffrey G., you are learning to eliminate that saddlebag look. Okay, let's move along here. Slightly flared skirts, such as an A-line, look best. The A-line skirt drapes gently over the hips without drawing attention to them. Skirts with gathered waists and pants or skirts with pleats add more visual bulk to the area. Conversely, bias, cut, or clingy dresses and skirts emphasize the pear-shaped nature of the figure. This is huge. Rachel, I want you paying attention here because this is something you need to work on. Emphasize the shoulders so they appear wider. Okay? Well, I'm not suggesting we go back to the linebacker-sized shoulder pads of the 1980s. Okay? I'm not suggesting that. Adding some soft shoulder pads help add definition. Don't forget, avoid a boxy look. And choose bootcut jeans. in the right size instead of relaxed fit. Those relaxed fit jeans, they just add visual bulk. Meanwhile, the flare of the bootcut jeans will provide balance and make your legs look longer, especially if you wear them with heels. Okay, discuss. Ladies, discuss. Discuss. Who has an opinion about this? I'm assuming you're not talking to me, Kent and Davey. So now I'm thinking working memory might be related to a function, and therefore some TI tests might be skewed because they're actually testing working memory. No, I'm aware of that, Jeffrey G. I'm well aware of that. It is, in fact, the case that you can isolate sort of TI-SE from TI-SI from TI-NI. And part of that is the kind of question and how they deal with certain kinds of questions. So INTPs are the most successful at long genealogy questions with fewest repetitions. Whereas that's going to be a slight variation there from STPs, especially ESTPs are going to not be able to sustain as long a string. But the other thing is, there's a lot of these kind of TI questions I can give either as verbally, I can say them, or I can give them to you as written pieces of work, and it still plays out the same way. You can just sort of measure speed at it, ultimately, whether you show them the problem or not. It definitely is relevant. But the thing is, it's difficult to even conceive of entirely isolating a function. So the best functions you can conceive of entirely isolating are your deliberation functions when you're working as a subject. So I can conceive of isolating TI when I am looking at conditional logic problems and doing the conditional reasoning that takes time and deliberative effort. That's an isolated function occurring in and of itself. To the extent that you're in that state of sustained attention at that matter, okay? On the other hand, it's nearly impossible to conceive of perceiving functions as being active independently. So extroverted intuition requires me to access continually stuff that I've accessed before, stuff that I know. And thus it's linked with SI. It is going to validate against another knowledge function, introverted intuition, right? But whereas TI and FI are isolated. They validate by themselves according to each its own metric, one of them universal, one of them particular. Thanks, darling. Thanks, Warling Parling.
Oh, you're welcome.
You're my Warling Parling. I would like to use Where's Waldo. Now, Legends Fall, you've got a good suggestion there. I've not really considered using Where's Waldo as an SE test. I haven't thought about that. One thing that I think is weird, and I don't know if it links to the difference or not, but Delilah's way faster than I am at Sudokus.
Yeah, she's so fast.
She's way better than I am. So I don't know if that's a TISE ability that is related to functions or not. But I would say Sudokus are, I guess they're TI problems. I guess. What deity am I? I'm no deity. But if I were going to metaphorically be a deity, if I were going to pick one of the old gods to be. I would be. Let's see. I'd be like, I don't know, Pan or something,
Ooh.
or what's his name? I need to put some pants on. That's what I need to do. Well, where have my little pants gone?
Your shorts or your longs?
I could wear shorts.
Okay. I'm just asking because shorts, I know you have less of because I'm.
Oh, I don't care.
Did your dad mention anything about the washer dryer?
No, I can ask them about it. They could deal with their car today too, unfortunately. You're Zeus. Let me pick a better deity. I want to be my own deity. Let's see. I guess I'd be Curtis, god of words and of naming things.
Ooh, Curtis.
Yeah, he's in my book, Gospel of the Pantheon.
Really? Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's a good god to be. In my earlier life, I might have chosen Entropotripocles. That's sort of probably the gods most ESTPs would choose. There's, of course, maybe I'd be the beholder. The beholder is the god in charge of saying which art is good. That's what they mean when they say beauty is in the eye of the beholder. I might be pre-creator. Pre-creator is basically the god of NI. Corey once brilliantly talked about, without knowing anything about cognitive functions, he was really talking about introverted intuition. And he said about it, it's pre-creation. It's YouTube automatically deletes phone numbers from chat. I tested. Some good testing. His number is 555-555-555-555. All fives.
Wow.
All fives all the time.
All fives all the time.
Mm-hmm. It's easy to remember my numbers. 555-555-555-555. So, today's going to be a bit of a busy day. What with the doing stuff and the getting together. I need to talk to the mechanic. I'm probably not going to really be able to get this car fixed right now. I don't know. It has compression loss, substantial compression loss, and more than one valve, I'm sure. This is my TI analysis. The funny thing about cars and engines is I've discovered in my 40s something that I never tried to learn or care about at all, that I actually understand pretty well. Whenever there's anything wrong with my car, I can diagnose it with TI, usually. So it's like I successfully diagnosed a fuel injector problem in my Scion, and I went to the mechanic, and they said, no, there's this other problem. I said, just fucking clean the fuel injectors. And sure enough, it fixed the problem. I knew the other problem wasn't going to go away, but I knew that they were distinct problems. They could fix one without the other, And then now I'm able to diagnose this as compression loss, which is not difficult to diagnose if you know anything about cars or engines, except I've never been a car guy. I've never liked the idea of caring about cars. Although I did change the timing belt in my Plymouth station wagon one time, which was quite a job. It took like a month to finish it. But me and my housemate, who was more TE than me, he was an ENFP, I think. Ken. This guy I lived with, Ken. It was had to be an ENFP. Anyway, he and I did it together, but I did most of the work, and he sort of was a consultant. I turned to some, and we fixed it, which is pretty hard to do. You gotta take out the engine and shit to do that. So
Yeah, that's not easy.
it's difficult, but.
And is your dad okay with you using the car in the meantime?
Yeah, I'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. I don't know what's gonna happen. I gotta find out how much it's gonna cost before I know what's gonna happen. And then, when I talk to Cameron about car stuff, he just says, "Well, he has his mechanic." He doesn't really do car work. There's a lot of kinds of work that you'd think he'd do that he doesn't really do. Like, he doesn't do plumbing stuff. He could, but it's just not something he does.
So he'll do it like in his house for himself, but like.
Well, yeah, or he'll do it for his girlfriend or something, maybe. But I think he said about plumbing. Even with that, he says like, "I'll just tell my girlfriend to call a plumber." I think he sees it as not fun. Usually have to go into the house. He's getting too old for that kind of shit. It's SI Dom rather than TE Dom. SI Dom rather than TE Dom.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Well, the mechanic said yesterday when I brought them in, and he's like, "These things have engine problems. A lot of engine problems." So, and I agree. This it requires a lot of babying, and I'm not necessarily great at babying it. So, I probably let the oil go low or something. Even though I put in that was quite a while ago, I guess. I put in one of those quarts of like super oil you can get that's for high mileage cars and shit after the oil change. Between the oil change and the next oil change. Yeah, I have AAA. I have AAA once in a while. But it's drivable. I drove it down to the shop. I'll drive it back if I have to.
Put those fancy pants. So fancy pants, mister.
What personality type would a Dodge Charger be? Oh. Which personality type do I want to insult? Is that what you're asking? It's not a very flattering car to be. Kind of like a Yugo. Which personality type is a Yugo? So, okay, no judgment or anything, but which personality type do you think is most like a dog turd?
Yeah.
That's kind of a roundabout way of just saying, which one do you want to shit on? The thing is, obviously, I have the most trouble with ESFPs. It's like ESFPs and I obviously butt heads a lot. And the reason that ESFPs and I butt heads a lot is because we don't share any of the same absolute values. It's, the thing is, it's like, Rachel and I share the absolute values of the perceiving functions and have reversed values on the judging functions. So I think it's a good idea to have reversed values on 2, 3, 6, 7 because I absolute value FI like a baby, which means it's not going to be useful for anybody else in any way. They're not going to be able to connect with my FI meaningfully. Hey, Mackenzie, I got your email. I haven't answered it yet, but I have read it. It's about 8-slot extroverted intuition. I was thinking about making a video out of it, but I haven't gotten around to it yet. I've been kind of busy. Oh, did you add an I to your name? Did you leave it out before by accident? Mackenzie Hoffman, I forget, did I ask you about Sudokus and whether you're good at them and if you're fast at them or whatever? Because my daughter felt a great deal of satisfaction, I think, by kicking my ass at those things.
Yeah.
Because throughout life, all of the kind of flashy intellectual stuff, she feels less talent, quote unquote, less talented than me, creatively or whatever. She's expressed this on a number of occasions. This is not a narrative I've instilled in her at all. This is something she's come upon on her own. Believe me, I've never been one to ever tell Delilah there's something wrong with her at all. You know, it's been all unconditional love all the time, pretty much. So okay. Here's the thing, Mackenzie Hoffman. I have a working hypothesis that if you get an ENTP and an ESTP together, that you can predict which things an ENTP will do better on and which things an ESTP will do better on. And that one of the things an ESTP will do better on is Sudoku. And I'm not exactly sure why, because it would seem like but my hypothesis is that the way I go about solving Sudokus involves using extroverted intuition, and the way you go about solving Sudokus involves using introverted intuition. Now, granted, they both require TI to validate. So, in other words, to do Sudoku, like a lot of people, when they start doing Sudoku, they think like, well, I'm going to take a chance on this one. I'm not sure what it is, but it's probably this or something. You can't do Sudokus like that. You know, you have to be absolutely sure about every number you put in, or else it'll get all messed up. You mess it up. So, what's my first strategy? I don't have a first strategy. I just start doing it. I don't know. I just start looking around. So, you know, but what I'll typically go is, okay, well, since this thing's in this row, then and this is in this row, then 2 must be in this area here. And I look for ones like that, I guess, that go. So it's like, I wish I could share the screen. It's so annoying that I can't. Well, I could, actually. I know how to do it. They should build in a share screen thing in this. Sudoku. All right. So can you see that? Can you look on your phone and see if you can see that? Oh, no.
Yeah, sure.
No, you can't see it now. Wow.
Okay.
Let me pull this thing up here.
I can. Yeah, there we go.
Okay. Oh. God damn it. Fucking meow. Fucking get damn it.
Not gonna help. It won't stay that way.
It falls over backwards. I just need to put this up higher.
Yeah, there we go.
There. Does it look backwards on your screen?
No.
Does this one look backwards?
Yes. But not on the screen.
But this one doesn't.
Yeah, like this one on like
Okay.
view screen, it's not backwards.
Is it still visible or did I mess it up now?
No, I see it still.
You see all the rows still?
Yeah, I see all the boxes still.
Okay. So if I were solving this thing, I guess I look for the ones that have the most things in it first.
Raise your emphasis a bit to the left, if you don't mind. Yeah, a little bit more. That's better.
There you go.
There's a white space next to it. Better.
Okay. So I start by looking at these ones here. So this is just missing a 9, a 5, and a 4. Okay, well, the 9 and the 5 aren't up in here, so it must be the 4 up in here. So I'll put the 4 right there. Piao. Now, this is just missing a 9 and a 5. Well, neither of these has a 9 or a 5 in it, so I can't do anything about that right now. Let me go on to this one here. This is just missing a 4, an 8, and a 9. The 8's not here. The 4 is not here. But the 8's not here, and the 8's not here either, so the 8 must be here. See, because it's not in this one, because piao. Now it's just missing a 4 and a 9. Well, it could be either one, so I don't know. Let's go look at this one. 1, 2, 3. It's missing a 4 and a 6. The 6 isn't here, so the 4 must be here. And the 6 is here. And then now let's look at this one. 1, 2, 3, 4. Missing a 5 and a 9. Well, could be either one, so I don't know. Now let's look at this box here. It's missing a 1, a 5, and a 9. The 5's not here. The 1's not here. The 9 must be here. Now, the 1's not here, so the 5 must be here, and the 1 must be here. Now, all we're missing in this one is a 9 and a 4. Doesn't do me any good. Okay, let's go up and down one here. 1, 2, 3. It's missing a 4 and an 8. The 8's not here, so this must be the 4. That means the 8's here. Now, let's see. How about this one? This one's missing a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. So this 3 must be here because this is 1, 2, and 4 on it already. Now it's missing a 1, a 2, and a 4. Well, the 4 is not here. It has to be a 1 or a 2. I don't know which one it is. Okay. So that's it for that. Now this box is missing a 7 or a 9. 7's not here, so 9 must be here, which means 7 is here. And then this is missing a 4 and 9 and a 6. 4, 9, 6. 6 isn't here. 4, 9, 6. I don't know. Oh, this is only missing 1. This is only missing number 5. So this must be 5. We got 5, 5, 5. Now 7 has got to be here, which means 9 has got to be here. And then 1, 2. This is missing a 4 and a 6 and a 9. 4, 6, and a 9. Well, this has to be the 4 or the 6. I don't know. 8 has to be here. This has to be at 8. Now, this is missing a 6 and a 7. This has to be the 7. This has to be the 6. And now, this is missing a 4, 5, or a 9. This has to be the 9. This has to be the 4. And this has to be the 5. No, wrong.
Does it let you know right away that you're
No, I just realized I was wrong because I have 2 5s in this row.
Ah.
So this has to be the 4. And this has to be the 5. And now we've got 1, 2, 3 left in this one. Not much help there. We know that okay, well, how about this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6. Need 4 and 6. This doesn't help at all. Okay, what is this one? We need 4, 6, and 9. Ah, this must be 4. Okay, this one now needs just 1 and 2. So this is 2, and this is 1. And now this one has just 1 left, and it's number 9. And now this box only has 4 and 6 left. Still no help there. This box only has 9 and 6 left. No help there. This one, 1, 2, has 4, 6, 5, and 8 left.
Legends follow saying that the bottom 2, the 5s are in the wrong spot.
Are they? Where?
I don't know. You see.
I do see I messed up somewhere though, because I have there's no possible way to put, there's 2 8s in here. That's the problem. I fucked it up, I guess. Let's see, how am I doing? Something not quite right in one of the cells. Which one's wrong? Ask him which one's wrong.
He says he doesn't. Okay, hold on. Top middle box has the 8. You figured that one out. So the middle box also can't have the 8. You figured that one out though, right?
Oh yeah, this one has to be wrong. So this must be 7. And this must be 8. Okay, there. I fixed it. Good.
Oh.
So, okay, 4 has to be here. And 5 has to be here. And 6 and 7. Don't know yet. Goddamn 6 and 7. They're my trouble numbers. 9 has to be here, which means this is a 6. Good. I got a 6 now, finally. Which means this must be 6. And this must be 4. Which means this must be 2. And this must be 3. And this must be 3. And this must be 1. And this must be 3. Okay, what else we have here? 9's got to be in this box. 7, 6. 9 and 7 have to be in this box. So 9, 7, 6. And then 7. And 4. And 1. And 2. And 6. 13 minutes, 10 seconds. That's how long it took me to do an easy puzzle. Okay. So you can test yourself against host Eric's time on an easy puzzle if you'd like, and you will determine whether or not you are faster or slower than host Eric at Sudokus on an easy one.
That's good.
That's a baseline number there for about how fast I solve an easy one. I didn't do it any faster or slower than I normally would. That's about how fast I do them.
It would be longer for me.
Would it? Okay.
Yeah, I'm not. Sudoku's not my jam. I'm more of a word search person.
So,
Could we bring the question of should I go to my aunt's drag Airbnb up into the crowd and see what they think?
sure. So, Rachel's aunt has invited her to participate in, although it costs money, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's a online gathering that is hosted by drag queens, and it's some sort of like online drag experience or something.
Yes.
That I don't know. I guess her aunt thought it would be fun, and
It's a surprise thing.
surprise.
My cousin's throwing it for her.
Your cousin's throwing a surprise drag party for your aunt.
Yes.
Now, I want to ask, what is it that to me this is such a strange thing that I almost want to do it. But like, what? So, what is your cousin thinking, and how do you expect your aunt will react to this? Explain the thought process here.
She's going to see. I don't know because in my mind it's really hard to surprise ESTJs. So like for some reason I feel like, but this year with all the COVID stuff, I believe my aunt actually will be surprised. How she's going to be surprised, I'm not sure. Like I don't know. Like the aunt my Aunt Jan might know that they're going to an Airbnb thing, but she might not know that it's going to be like a drag event.
It's called an online Airbnb
Uh-huh.
thing. So it's like, it's weird because, of course, trying to link your Airbnb brand name to an online space is, I mean, it certainly doesn't change what it is at all. And I guess it sort of reframes it, but in this weird kind of, what kind of product is it that they're putting out that somebody has actually purchased? This is a strange product.
And are they going to be wearing masks while doing it? Like,
It's online, right?
well, yeah. I don't know what's going to be going on, really. Actually, I don't know any of the details. I assumed that my cousin was going to rent out an Airbnb place, but I don't know. It could just be these drag queens in a separate house and us watching them.
It's like a super expensive live stream or something.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. But one thing I'm curious about is women seem to enjoy drag queen stuff. I don't understand why. Like, what is it about?
But women, I don't. It makes me incredibly uncomfortable. And then if you are uncomfortable, they're like, "Come on, sweetie, just smile a little." I feel incredibly weird by you like touching my hair and staring into my eyes. Is that can that be? Is that okay?
Yeah.
It's incredibly awkward, but women love it because it's time when they can be like, ah! Some other people are wearing clothes that I would like to wear, but it's not me, and it's man. That's
I
so
guess it's
funny.
sort of like, at least I look better in that dress than they do.
Yeah.
Girl, I look good.
And then they do, like, a lot of them like do impressions, and they poke fun at themselves. So it's like, it's a gaggle of, like, women that, like, they'll talk, and then they'll talk about genitals and stuff. It's very, like, yeah.
I was just reading Winston's mom talking about her visit to Chippendales.
Oh my gosh, that is not, I wouldn't even touch that. My friends dragged me to Chippendales and all sorts of drag shows at Dancing Men. They French kissed those men. I was appalled even in the 80s. Yeah, they do. They grind on people. So like, say you're a bridesmaid or like a bride, they'll pull you up on stage and do like embarrassing stuff with you.
That's not an INFJ's fun time experience, I don't think.
No.
I mean, I didn't like when they got a stripper for my first bachelor party either. I think I said don't get a stripper, and they got one anyway. And then,
People want what they want most.
I found it not arousing, because I just couldn't. I'm just not that experiential, right? It's like, it's asking you to ignore all the meaning and just pay attention to the sensory data, namely naked girl. It's impossible for an NTP to ignore the meaning.
Well, hot. A lot of strippers, you can get like an escort now, and you can pay them big bucks just to cuddle. So, a stripper might be cheaper.
A verbal stripper. Higher Self says he wants a verbal stripper for
A verbal stripper.
Give you a TED talk. The removal of clothing is one of humanity's oldest experiences. By taking off of our clothes, we enjoy a freedom that we don't experience with clothes on. Let's talk about what it means to remove one's clothing. And then proceed on like a 20-minute talk. Wow, that was arousing, you say at the end. That was really intellectually arousing. Thank you, Diane. I appreciate the fact that you left your clothes on the whole time. Here comes a package.
Yay.
Thank you, Dad. That's it. Okay, thank you. It's a pillow.
It's something.
Rachel knocks something over. Again.
I dragged stuff into the house.
I mean, it's like we're at a moment in history where people are coming to terms with what I guess you would call, see you later, Kenton. I guess you'd call a mishmash of norms regarding relationships, sexuality, and so forth. It's like, and you see it mostly a topic of significance among either people who are single or people in difficult or troubled relationships. But there are two realities about relationships. The one is the reality of the relationship itself, and that is something that happens between two people. And then there are all these meanings about relationships that we affix to relationships, and being in one or not being in one, and sexual activity and so forth, that are of varying significance to people depending on, I guess, how sensory they are, basically, and what kind of sensory focus they have. So for me, the meanings are very important. I need to understand in any relationship that qualifies as a romantic relationship. I need to understand exactly what it's defined as. And I want those definitions to be basically permanent. So I don't want any evolving statuses. It's like the status is we're together forever, and that doesn't evolve. That's one possible thing. Or it's like it's not impossible to conceive of myself in a different life, having a period of time where I did have a friend with benefits, provided that status was clearly defined and permanent forever. So it's like there's no changing statuses.
Okay, so if she one day was like, I'm developing feelings for you more than friends with benefits.
I mean, it would have to be, for it to work at all, it would have to be like, this status of friends with benefits means we have sexual intercourse approximately once a week, and we don't engage with each other in between, or something like that.
Yeah.
It would have to be really well defined.
Yeah.
And then if they were that well defined, it might be possible for me to sustain that relationship without having FI problems. But it need to be extremely well defined, because it's very natural for me to, as I always have when I have sexual intercourse with somebody, to go, well, I guess you're my girlfriend now, basically, or I'm going to make that happen, because that's by having sexual intercourse with you, it means from my perspective, like I always thought, well, that means I want to go out with you or something. Because because although I never really understood this before, the bottom line was I mostly found sexual intercourse stressful until I'd been in a relationship for a while. So, and I learned this, but I guess had kind of doubts about my own masculinity or something. So, didn't like those meetings, ignored them as much as I could. To say, no, you are man, you are man. But now, in retrospect, it's like, yeah. You cannot say they slay and take ethics and religion and morality involved. It's harem. What's a harem? A harem? Harems are wrong. I don't have a harem. I have a harem of one.
Yay!
That's all I need. I mean, that's the thing about the idea of having a harem. Like, I mean, I don't think that I am overwhelming Rachel with my appetite. So let's put it that way. If she were like, okay, Jesus, man, I am sore, I am tired, please, you've got to stop fucking me constantly, then there might be some logical understanding of why one would want a harem. Okay, if that were the case. I am not a moose. All right? I am not a bison. I'm not a buffalo who needs to have 10 different chicks there because he's got to like fuck 10 times a day, right? That is not me. So why would I need a harem? All I would be getting would be like extra responsibility with no extra utility.
Wouldn't that be extra stress? I feel like
It would be terribly stressful. The point is there'd be no extra utility. It's not like I have exhausted my supply of Rachel and need additional sexual stimulation. What am I fucking? What's that guy's name? Epstein, who supposedly had to ejaculate 3 times a day.
Oh my gosh!
So he,
Jeffrey Epstein had this.
so he told people, he's like, oh well, I have to. It's critically important for me, my well-being, that I need to ejaculate at least 3 times a day.
Oh my gosh.
The thing is, I wouldn't call Lee Sherman necessarily being morally superior. I'd call him being morally judgmental. The key thing for him seems to be establishing what the judgments are and making those judgments, which is a little bit different than being morally superior. Now, granted, being morally superior is more like oh, you did that? Oh, I would never do that. That's more like morally superior, I think. I think he's being judgmental instead. I didn't see your links, but I read what you said. I do see your link, yes. I mean, but won't I get copyrighted? If it could be audible, if it's not audible, doesn't that kind of miss the point? Doesn't that kind of destroy the point? You know what I'm saying? Oh, haram. Oh, you're not talking about a harem. You're talking about haram, meaning like the I thought that was like halal. Doesn't that mean like you can't eat it if it's halal, or is that you can eat it if it's halal?
I think that you can because NYC is full of halal trucks.
So halal is equivalent to kosher.
Yeah.
Okay, and the other word they said there is not harem, it's haram, and that's the opposite of halal. Is that how it works? Okay. I thought you were saying harem.
That was a good discussion though, on harems and.
That's the importance of spelling, okay? The importance of spelling. I thought you were talking about having a harem, Harem.
What's a haram?
Haram is the opposite of halal. It's like not kosher.
Not kosher.
Yeah.
Oh.
Men like gods, let's not be sort of racist-y when saying those kind of things. I'm just going to remove that comment. Okay. So the thing is, here's the question. Is a harem haram? That's the question, right?
That is a good question.
Okay, I beat you to it, but thank you. Not very cash money of you. Honor self, that's a great definition for haram. Not very cash money of you.
That's not very cash money. Like that.
Harems are halal as fuck, says Legends Fall. Okay. Harems are halal, but they aren't kosher unless they're pickled with dill. What's halal in Mormonism? Because harems are halal in Mormonism. How can a harem be haram if you get 40 virgins in paradise? Okay, well, that's only if you die in certain ways, right? You don't automatically get 40 virgins in paradise. What happens once you use up their virginity? I mean, because look, even I, with my, you have 40 fresh ones a day? How can you possibly go through 40 virgins a day?
That's a lot.
That's a lot of virgins to burn through.
How do you get it up?
Maybe those days are longer in paradise.
How does it get up?
I mean, well, you got to figure you spent your first 23 years obsessively fetishizing sex by a religion and then died in a martyrdom. You are ready to cash in.
Yeah.
Legends Paul says, the point isn't whether you can, it's the trying that's important. I mean, to be perfectly honest, it would just be, I mean, that takes a lot of FI, right? If you're genuinely in paradise going to be taking the virginity of these people, these young women, then you're going to have to be very tender and gentle and talk to them and, get to know them a little bit and stuff. It's going to be a lot of emotional work. If you care at all, unless you want to just treat them as objects. But if you care at all, it's going to be a lot of emotional work. I don't want to be responsible for 40 virgins. Who wants to be responsible for 40 virgins? Okay, so what if I don't want to hump these 40 virgins? What do I do with them then? I have gotten them. I have received them. What does that mean? Am I responsible for them? I don't want 40 puppies either.
Oh my God. That's a good point.
Another good question, Skyger. How the fuck did so many young women ever die without fucking anyone? I guess they get re-virginized once they die. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe death, a holy death, being death and being Bye, Mackenzie. See you later. Are you not enjoying this conversation? Maybe having the right kind of death means that you have your virginity restored when you're dead. Why virgins though? Why women who go to heaven get male virgins? Wouldn't that be awkward? Do women who go to heaven get male virgins? That's a good question. Freddie Forgiato, now you are talking. Have them perform as a big band. That's a gimmick.
Ooh,
The 40 Virgins.
Really great idea.
The 40 Virgins big band. Hopefully they're all musicians. If not, I guess I'll have to teach them how to play music. Do they stay young since they're in heaven? They stay the same age or what? I guess you don't get older in heaven, right? See, I wonder, like, if heaven is correct, when I die, what age will I wake up at in heaven? Will I wake up at the age that I died at? Or will I wake up at the ideal age? Whatever that is. My favorite age. If I were to go to heaven, I'd want to get the ones with athlete bodies that fuck like jackrabbits. How do you end up being someone's virgin in heaven if you go to hell? Well, you don't. Well, that's the thing. What they probably do is those are the virgins. All the virgins who are going to go to hell would otherwise go to hell because they're virgins. They're useful enough to be someone's property in heaven.
Useful enough.
Yeah. So they get an abstention from, or they get a hiatus from hell. Like they get excused from hell as qualification of being so useful. What makes you think God gives you a choice on the age? Well, it's heaven, right? Did you get what you want in heaven? Or it's just another shitty version of life where you never really get what you want and everyone shits on you all the time. Is that heaven? Yeah, I've hypothesized that this is heaven. This is heaven right now. It's as heavenly as anything can possibly be. It's, if you as soon as you're done humping them, they just melt away into dust.
For you.
And get replaced by another new virgin. God does work in mysterious ways. Very, very mysterious ways. The thing is, it's like, okay, if you've seen that Twilight Zone episode where the guy goes to hell and he gets everything he wants and he thinks he's in heaven at first, and then he realizes that always getting what you want is its own form of hell. Well, Bobby's son, you're not alone. At God's Big Heaven Church, we're famous not just for having the biggest heaven, but also for having the best heaven. But regardless, what was I talking about? Oh, virgins in heaven, right? It's basically humping a virgin in heaven is the same thing as slaying a demon in anime. They turn to little black sparkles that float away after you're done humping them.
That sounds believable.
And then you say, Latum. So anyway, why is the current reality actually heaven? Well, if you think about it, it's got everything you'd want heaven to have. It's got some challenge to it. It's not too easy. It's got endless amount of, like, you don't have to follow. It's not like an old school Atari game where after you go down this path, you start the next path. Well, it's like a MMORPG in that you've got lots of places you can go and stuff. I must now work on my mind For now, I realize every one of us has a heaven inside. Well, look, what I'm saying is heaven would do what life has done for me in general, which is, give you an opportunity to start off in the care of people who love you a lot and are determined to instill that love in you as you grow up, and then to have a lot of ability to decide for yourself what you're going to do in the world or how you're going to spend your time, is important. But even that is something that you can have too much of. There's a certain amount of work I have to do, or else I start feeling lost. So in other words, it's important that I do some things that I don't consider fun or choose to do necessarily, like teach English, help Jeffrey with his essays, or do debate stuff. I mean, I like the debate stuff more, but it's still work, It's like I'm doing it to meet the expectations of the client and to surpass them, hopefully. But I need some responsibilities and some work that I have to do, because otherwise I start to feel kind of lost in my own indulgence. So at the same time, I need not too much work to do, because if I have too much work to do, then I start feeling like I've just like why am I doing all this work that I don't like to do or something? As a child in church, I imagined heaven to be slavery to God, where I'd be forced to sing and praise and play the harp. No, not at God's Big Heaven Church. At God's Big Heaven Church, we promise you a heaven that is tailor-made for the contemporary human. Our heaven is not even completely finished in construction yet. They're still adding to it. So it has all the latest tech. The internet connection in Catholic heaven is notoriously shitty. When you email people from God's Big Heaven to Catholic heaven, you're lucky if you get a reply in 3 days. They got very spotty internet, and they got to take turns using it. Yeah, I want to know the secret, drummer, that I'm gonna be thankful for in the future. What is the secret that I will be thankful for in the future? Keeping in mind that if you tell me, it will no longer be a secret. Eventually, we will all be told by mainstream sources that aliens exist, and it will be disclosed. Don't buy it, it's a lie. Okay, so why will we be told this? And why will it be a lie? He said I'll be thankful for it in the future. He didn't say I'd be thankful for it right now. Okay, so even if I don't feel thankful for it right now, that is not successfully disputing his claim that I will be thankful for it at some point in the future. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I see the COVID media landscape as being very revelatory of where and how you can draw conclusions about things. So it's like what I keep seeing in the mainstream media about COVID, I don't see really very much that I would call lying. What instead I see is a lot of frame management. There a lot of reframing the same basic ideas to justify this or that or the other thing, but I don't see disinformation. I see things like one article point to the 96% similarity of a bat virus to COVID and point to it as clear indication that it is from a natural source. And then I saw another article use that same statistic to explain how it's not possible to engineer it from that virus because of the huge distance between 96% and 100%. So it's like they're using the same stat out of both sides of their mouth. What they're not doing is lying about the reality that the closest virus we can identify in nature is only 96%. What they are doing is interpreting it in a way that suggests that they don't prioritize good argumentation. Okay, so leaf trimmer. You say every day in news sources we're being given snippets of UFO sightings. They're conditioning it onto us. When they disclose happens, many will automatically buy into it. So here's my interpretation of what you're saying here, is that you've inferred a pattern from the news that has crossed your path and concluded that people are being drip fed information about UFOs. Now, if I look at my Google News, what do I see in my Google News? Well, I see a lot of articles like new quantum algorithms finally cracked on linear equations. Largest canyon in solar system revealed in new stunning images. And I see articles like what's for me? For you. Let's see what it picks for me. These are the articles that it picks for me. New quantum algorithms finally cracked on linear equations. Largest canyon in solar system revealed in 10 new images. Inside the CIA, she became a spy for planet Earth. That might be what you're talking about, right? Maybe there's some sort of hint of UFOs in that article in the New York Times. I don't know. There's a local article, Cameron's seafood market and restaurant closes. Then there's full mitochondrial control for the ultimate anti-cancer biohack. Because I tend to read those sort of things. There's something about Charlie's Angels. This is probably a little bit of Rachel's taste gets in there. She likes to read stuff about celebrities. Attack on Titan. What season's 4 episode count may mean for the anime. Attack on Titan manga will end April 21. I'm watching that show and into it, so fix that. Jupiter is bigger than some stars, so why don't we get a second sun? Why didn't we get a second sun? And then did a holographic phase transition in the early universe release gravitational waves. And then people with dark personality traits responded to the pandemic with key differences. So I read some COVID stuff and I read personality stuff. They think, well, that must be for you, Eric. The lab leak hypothesis. New York Magazine yesterday. Let's see what that says. Let's see if somebody's actually saying what I'm saying, maybe giving a little bit of credit to it, right? And how to watch stunning quadrantid meteor shower tonight. So I don't doubt for a second, leaf trimmer, that you are encountering a lot of bullshit that passes in front of your eyes because you habitually read it. Note the lack of bullshit that passes in front of my eyes. You know, because I don't habitually read it and take it seriously. So Google News knows I'm not going to look at that nonsense. If it's nonsense, if it's legit, I want to read it. I think it's possible that aliens exist. So Quantum Magazine is great. New quantum algorithms finally cracked nonlinear equations. Two teams found different ways for quantum computers to process nonlinear systems by first disguising them as linear ones. So I tend to read these articles on progress in quantum mechanics and stuff, even though I don't really understand the actual math of it or anything. Kind of an interested observer from the sidelines. It's nearly 10 times as long as the Grand Canyon and 3 times as deep. But how did it form? It is on Mars, of course. And the question is, how did it form? Because it's so mysterious. We aren't completely sure how it formed. It wasn't carved by rushing water. It's too dry to have ever accommodated a river that large. It probably cracked open billions of years after there was water on Mars, when a nearby supergroup of volcanoes was first thrusting out of the Martian soil. Evidence suggests that subsequent landslides, magma flows, and yes, even some ancient rivers probably contributed to the canyon's continued erosion over the following eons. Further analysis of high-resolution photos like these will help solve the puzzling origin of the solar system's grandest canyon. Fascinating. That's the sort of article I enjoy reading. Full mitochondrial control for the ultimate anti-cancer attack. I'm really curious about something I reported on this channel some couple of years back, namely the ongoing developing cancer treatment that takes the individual's cancer cells and is customized to those cancer cells, and then is injected. And in mice, even when they had these tumors all over their bodies, and rats and stuff, they inject a little bit of this stuff into them afterwards, and all of the cancers go away. They just go away. So I'm really interested in the idea that I made a prediction a couple years ago that within 10 years we will have cured cancer. That's a prediction that is likely to come true. And note that it doesn't tell you what to conclude about it, right? I'm not linking it to any kind of motivational calculus or any kind of these people or those people or doing this or that or whatever. I'm saying based on the reality of how science progresses, it seems likely that we're going to have cancer cured in about 10 years. Now, this is how you can tell somebody who's using too much NI, or especially too much NITE. They'll say something like, the pharmaceutical companies will never let that happen. Science doesn't work like that. Okay? Sometimes there are examples of shit getting suppressed and so forth, but yeah, what Horst Rumberg says, the best thing to do to get yourself out of jury duty is to say that you are into jury nullification. Or you just even say this. Well, I'm looking forward to being on the jury because it'll give me an opportunity not only to consider the facts of the crime, but also the legitimacy of the law that's being broken. And if the law is not legitimate, of course, I won't have to. I'll be able to prevent this travesty of justice from occurring as a consequence. Who won't help us normal people? The military is like a decade ahead of us and already see shit like that. That's too much NI in Tiny Man 66. There's no reason to conclude that. Listen, I'm perfectly fair, okay? I just want you to know that I know in advance, as I'm sure you all do, that the Mexicans are all guilty. So, we know as long as we're all on the same page about that, I'm a perfectly fair juror. Right, Union SZN? He knows. He knows. How does he know? He is from Delaware. That's how. He and his entire family are originally from Delaware. It's amazing. The big spaghetti monster was a brainwash op by Big Pasta. Yeah. Italy's version of the CIA launched that disinformation campaign to promote Italian food. Okay, I'm gonna go now. I'm feeling, I guess, a little bit tired or something. Just be like, I love jury duty. It gives me an opportunity to not just adjudicate the facts of the crime, but to prevent injustice if the law that purportedly has been broken is not itself justified logically against universal norms. We have a model penal code for a reason, Judge. Say this: I will adjudicate the court. I will be an entirely fair juror, but I am going to function as a juror under the model penal code rather than the U.S. criminal code. So, if that bothers you, you might want to kick me off the jury. But of course, the model penal code is preferable to our existing penal code, so I don't see why I shouldn't use that in making my determinations. Don't worry, I'll cross-reference it for you if you'd like. I can explain how your claims and your laws convert into the model penal code according to my metrics, if you'd like. It won't change my decision, but I will provide you with that information.
You're so adorable. I'm gonna come over.
This question of how to get out of jury duty is really making me think how fun it would be to go have jury duty and to explain, to do something like this. Yeah, I think I'm totally am a fair juror. I'm so fair that I'm going to adjudicate my role here against the model penal code rather than the California State Criminal Code. It's better. Why wouldn't I use it? Excuse me? The model penal code, the ideal penal code, they made it back in like the late 60s. It's been amended a few times. I'm sure you're aware of it. You're an attorney, aren't you? Sir, you can't just... You might if you turn it into a question. Can I use the model penal code instead of these laws you're talking about? I haven't read any of these books that you're talking about. I don't understand. I haven't read the California State Penal Code. Well, yeah, I've read the model penal code. So it seems to me it wouldn't be fair for me to use one I haven't even read. The sovereign citizen thing. So dumb. It's just idiotic. Idiocy masquerading as negative rights fixation or something. Look, the fact is, human beings are social creatures. We exist in a society. We do not exist as like each of our own pioneer family on our 100 acres occasionally goes to town, and gathers with the other heads of the farming community. We don't live like that. It's just not reality, The fact is, we are every person on the planet pretty much is subject to some sovereignty other than their own. How much sovereignty they're subject to and whether or not it's just are other questions. The idea that it's never just for any adult to be sovereign, to be subject to any sovereignty other than their own, is completely unwarranted. I mean, it's not a conclusion that is warranted by anything we know about human beings, our relationships with each other, etc. In other words, even if you are in favor of self-sovereignty, then you're certainly going to be in favor of contractual obligations, and there's got to be some sort of adjudicatory body to resolve those, or else you're not talking about a more civilized way of being, you're talking about a vastly less civilized way of being. Well, I mean, it's unavoidable that when you say people have lost their power, the thing that people don't remember is to factor in is population size and slice of control regarding community matters are proportional. If the community comprises 100 people, then in some sense, everybody can at least claim to have 1/100th ownership of the community's identity, goals, interests, etc. If there's 7 billion people, it's a lot more challenging, right? In LA County alone, there's something like 2 million people or something. I don't know. That's a lot of people in LA. And so it's like, as a resident of Arcadia, I am subject to Arcadia's local laws, which means presumably I can't park my car on the street overnight or I'll get a ticket, for example. I am subject to LA County laws. So when LA County has a lockdown because of COVID, I'm supposed to be part of that lockdown too. I'm additionally subject to the state of California's laws. I'm additionally subject to the federal government's laws. And depending on certain circumstances, I could be made to be subject to international laws or even maritime laws. For example, maritime laws being distinct from international law. That's the reality of things. So to say, well, I'm a sovereign citizen means, my house is my own country is just plain pretend in a way that's just incredibly silly. It's like, if your house is your own country, then do you have your own currency?
Yeah.
So you have your own water company that gives water to your house, right? And you have your own electric company that brings electricity to your house. You've got your own police department made out of that comprises your wife, and you've got and everybody is responsible to do all of that for themselves. So, in other words, the point is, at some point it becomes ridiculous. It's like California's insurance law says you have to have car insurance, or I think it's like $250,000 in a bank account that is collateral against you potentially having an accident. So the thing about that is, if you really oppose the idea on philosophical grounds that the government shouldn't force you to insure against a possible negative outcome, because, for example, I haven't gotten in a car crash I haven't gotten in a car crash that's involved insurance, at least for sure, in over 30 years. No, that's not true. In over 20 years. And yet I've paid car insurance many years in between. So the thing is, it's guaranteed a net loss for me. I would rather I would rather I'd rather not pay any car insurance and then crash into somebody and have to give them $1,000 to fix their car or something, right? It's cheaper to wait until you get caught is another reality. California's made it difficult to do that because they link car registration to the currentness of your insurance. I think it's linked digitally, so it's like even if you still have your papers, your registration might be not legit because your insurance is out of date or something. A professional sophist? No, Michael Eric Dyson? No, I've never debated him, never encountered him. Never heard of him. Professional sophist sounds like, almost my definition of evil. Anyway, I'm going to split now. And I got stuff to do today. We got a couple of things to do. And he's a debate coach. Well, that's different than being a professional sophist. Oh, he's an ENTP debate coach. Oh, that's terrible. That's awful. I'm sorry to hear that. Yeah, it's the worst. It's like when people use the tools of good to do evil, it's demoralizing. All right. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese.